Holy exploding barbed wire death match Batman. What's up, wrestling world? I'm Andy Perez with 411mania.com, and welcome back to another episode of Dissecting Dynamite. Before we get started tonight, as always, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, make sure you comment in the chat. Tell us what you thought about tonight's episode of Dynamite. We would love to know. And joining us tonight, our wonderful co-host, here to break down that tag title match, Sting being power bombed, and all of the other great stuff we saw here at Dynamite. We have 411 Mania's own Blake Lovell. Blake, we saw a lot tonight. We have a lot to process and try to explain to our wonderful viewers. But most presently, we have a big announcement from Kenny Omega. Not only is he offering a rematch to Jon Moxley, a very specific type of rematch. It looks like we're going hardcore. What are your thoughts on tonight's show, Blake?
Yeah, I'm laughing, Andy, because as you're saying that, I just pulled up Twitter here because as we know, there's going to be reaction, right? And the first tweet I see on my feed as I pull this up is from Renee Young, who puts up a gif of, and she says, "Exploding barbed wire death match." And she's got the gif of the guy just looking around like this. I'm just like, it's just so hilarious because I can only imagine what she's thinking. Like, oh my God, my husband, who is the father of, my future child, is about to step into an exploding barbed wire death match. So that was obviously, we're used to that with AEW, like they end things with a bang, and literally, I guess when you have exploding barbed wire death match, you're literally ending it with a bang on this. But like you said, there was a lot of really good stuff on the show.
Yeah, I was telling you earlier in the show, as long as Cody and Brandy don't set a forest on fire, I'm okay with their gender reveals. Well, it looks like their intention is to set stuff on fire, at least with Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley coming up. But we'll have to talk more about that in just a bit. This week kicked off with Matt Hardy and Adam Page versus the Hybrid 2. Last week, we weren't here last week, but we saw Adam Page seemingly dupe Matt Hardy, playing a game of switcheroo with the contracts that he was signing. Now, the past handful of months, we've seen the Dark Order pursue Hangman Page. We've seen Matt Hardy pursue him. We've seen the ongoing drama and the fallout of the Elite situation, the Kenny Omega situation. Adam Page's saga has gone in completely unexpected directions, and now it looks like he has the upper hand here with this Matt Hardy situation until we figure out who's in the until we figured out who was inside of the mascot. But what are your thoughts on this whole situation with Adam Page and Matt Hardy? I got to be honest with you. This segment didn't exactly land with me, and I'm not sure if this story has completely landed with me so far. I think we're far enough along for me to make that judgment. But where are you coming from?
I'm with you. I thought it was interesting because when they started talking about having, the money match where literally they're putting their earnings on the line, I'm thinking, man, that's different. But I guess, with Matt's character, Big Money Matt and all this other stuff, I guess it makes sense. But I mean, if we had predicted this, I guess after the whole, Omega and Hangman tournament final, however long ago that was, several months ago, we probably wouldn't have predicted this to be Hangman's match at Revolution. We probably wouldn't have said Matt Hardy. But I think nonetheless, I feel like it's one of those, we talk about this so much, don't we, about like the tag teams that are always in holding patterns because they just have so many things. They have so many tag teams. It's like not everybody can be involved in something. I feel like this is the thing for Hangman. Like we know, like I'm still of the belief that we know where this is headed. Like eventually it's going to be Hangman and Omega for the title. Like I think that's still where they will get to, and it may be 6 months from now, but like I think that's where they're going to get to. So for now, you kind of have Hangman in all these sort of holdover spots, like against the Matt Hardy thing, but it's also playing into the Dark Order, which I can appreciate that because they have played that up, for however long now, and having our guy John Silver and Alex Reynolds come out and help and all that. I think that made sense because, they've been trying so hard to recruit this guy. And So I'll give him credit for that, but I'm kind of with you. Is the match going to be anything spectacular? Probably not, because again, I think it's just sort of the expectation now is, we probably didn't think we were going to see Hangman versus Matt Hardy, but I still think there's interest here. But I'm more interested just to kind of see where Hangman goes after this whole deal, versus maybe just where things are right now.
And if you're watching at home, still trying to catch up here, the whole deal is that Big Money Matt thought that he was signing Hangman Page to an exclusive 30% agent performer relationship, whereas Hangman actually had Matt Hardy sign a contract for a match at Revolution in which if Matt Hardy loses, he has to pay up his entire first quarter or earnings from 2021. Matt says, "Oh, okay, I understand. You got the better of me here. How about you equal that wager?" Adam Page said yes, but it turns out Matt wasn't being bamboozled. He was the bamboozler. He saw the
Yep.
double cross coming. Because Isaiah Cassidy was inside of the mascot costume, setting up a match between Hangman and Cassidy next week. So we have more to look forward to. So if this hasn't sold you on Hangman versus Matt just yet, you have another week to sort yourself out. But that led us
Yeah.
into a promo by the Inner Circle, and we had a lot of moving parts here. Of course, you had Santana and Ortiz just calling out the general AEW crowd. First title shot and the long 18 months that they've been on board. What a crime! What an injustice! But then we had Chris Jericho, of course, needing to take a bit of the spotlight for himself. Same thing with MJF, and it looks like Jericho is not at all happy with MJF, but he's even less happy with Sammy Guevara. And Sammy Guevara, now that he has left the Inner Circle, he is dead to Chris Jericho. Now, Blake, you've been anxiously awaiting this Sammy Guevara face turn for months now. So I need to ask you: last week and the fallout that we've seen so far, has it reached the standards that you set in your own mind? We have a face Sammy Guevara. How's it going with you?
I I love Sammy. Like I've said it. I think this guy is he's great. He's money, right? Like maybe he's the Matt Hardy guy. He's money. So no, please keep them away from each other. Please don't take them back together. Just please don't do it. But no, I like we talked about. Like I think Sammy is just he's so good, and like we have to remember too, he's still so young, and I mean they're clearly setting him up for something big. And we've kind of saw it coming for a while, but I did like the line though, like with Jericho, like he just went all in, didn't he? Like he's like, this guy's dead to me. Like I want nothing to do with Sammy. But you know what? Still in the back of my mind, I'm like, is this something like what's being plotted here? Like I feel like there's still something more to this. And that's kind of what we said when they started this whole adding MJF and all this other stuff was you always feel like everyone in the group, like there's this, it's almost like you have the one thing sitting on one side of your shoulder and one thing on the other. You've got the good here and you've got the bad here. And it's like, we'll go this way one time and then we'll go this way. Like there's always something in store. And so I think that's still something in the back of my mind. It's like, is someone still playing someone here or how are they going to do this? Or so that at least fascinates me. But Sammy Guevara is still great. And, according to all the rumors, seems to be in okay standing with AEW after the whole Impact thing, whatever that was to begin with. So maybe it's just Sammy against the world right now. I'm okay with that too.
Yeah, and he's definitely primed himself to be in that sympathetic babyface role. He definitely has the move set for it with what he can do in the ring. The main question on my mind is yeah, are there any other double crossings going on? I've been seeing murmurs of, oh, is it actually Sammy and Jericho teaming up
Yeah,
to thwart MJF? And then I think to myself, well, if that's the case, why'd they even let him in the first place? Just to show him? I mean,
right.
but nonetheless, it remains to be seen. Later on in the night, we have Santana and Ortiz versus the Young Bucks. We might as well cover that now because, of course, in terms of storyline, a lot of it was extended into that match as well. Santana and Ortiz really feeling like they have to prove themselves after really being humiliated by Chris Jericho and MJF,
Yeah.
with them ending up winning that tag team battle royal, feeling like Jericho and MJF perhaps took their spot. But some crazy offense in this match. Of course, the Young Bucks with their high flying like trapeze artist level circus show that they put on, but then Santana and Ortiz just showing some genuinely like innovative duo offense in the match. Uh, just wonderful ring work going on. Nick so close to tapping out. The street sweeper almost wins it at one point. And then after the match, where the Young Bucks barely squeak out the win, we see a post show beatdown. The inner circle coming in to aid Santana and Ortiz, beating down the Young Bucks, and we see some inner turmoil with Kenny Omega in the back. And Don Callis maybe not as empathetic towards the Young Bucks and their plight, but yeah, how did you see the storyline enter into this match as well as just the performance in general?
Yeah, no, I thought it was a good match, and as you said, I thought it was kind of, what we expect from Young Bucks matches. Like, there's just going to be a lot of craziness, and there's just going to be things flying all over the place, and that's kind of what you got here. And the storyline was what I was most interested in. Like you said, it was just sort of like, this is another one, and we've said this, like, it seems like with all the AEW factions now and everybody that's kind of, you never know what one person's doing, and the others are kind of just on edge trying to figure out, okay, what are these guys actually up to? And we know, like, Don Callis, the guy who's pulling all the strings here, he's got something up his sleeve, and he continues to kind of, lead Kenny and the Good Brothers in the direction he wants to lead them in. And so I think it still works for me. Like, I know it's been going on for a while now, but it's, I still don't know exactly what the dynamic is between all these guys and the Young Bucks thrown in there. And like we said, I mean, eventually I think Hangman will find his way back to this situation. And so he'll be in the mix too. And so they just have so many different ways they can go. And I think that's why, that's one of their strengths is they leave themselves enough room to be able to go in a lot of different directions. When you have these kind of matches and when you get, Omega and the Good Brothers and the Young Bucks and everybody involved, like, there's so many ways they can go with this. And I'm sure, as we'll say many times, it'll be the buzzword of this show, Andy, but the forbidden door is open. And so that leaves a lot of room for what you can actually do. But I thought this was a really good match. I've always thought Santana and Ortiz, those two guys, I don't know if they get enough credit just for how good they are. So I was glad to see them just in this spot in general. So
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And the main question coming out of this match for me was, how much does everybody know? We saw Don Callis, how he handled the situation. Obviously, maybe placating Kenny Omega a bit and whispering to the Good Brothers, giving them very specific instructions on how they were to handle the situation. We saw that the Young Bucks were sitting in that Walls of Jericho, sitting in the salt of the earth for quite a while before the Good Brothers were able to come in. Pretty nonchalantly, may I add. They definitely weren't hustling down to that ring. If they were in the middle of gym class, they were getting the whistle blown at them right there. They were just bay watching it right there. They might as well have been running in slow motion. But yeah, a very fishy situation. It's obvious at this point that Kenny Omega is living in Don Callis's world, not the other way around. It's obvious that Don Callis is back here orchestrating everything, and just how long until Kenny Omega figures that out? Because even even in the promo that we saw earlier in the night between Kenny Omega and Callis and the whole situation with them reading to the children, it seemed like Kenny Omega wanted to go play with the kids, give them their money's worth, but Don answered for him, said no, Don and Kenny can't play with you right now. But yeah, it looks like Kenny Omega continues going down that rabbit hole, and he doesn't really know what's in front of him, unfortunately. But after that Inner Circle promo, going back a bit into the night, we have what many are calling already the possibly the greatest women's match in AEW history. We have Serena Deeb versus a returning Rio. We saw some highlights from the Japanese wing of the women's tournament. Uh, and we can get into the controversy surrounding that in just a moment. But before that, what did you think of this matchup? What a matchup here!
Yeah, it was fantastic, and I thought going in it was going to be really good, but like I thought this still exceeded the expectations. Like I probably had high expectations for this thing, but it was so good. Like these two, and just having Riho back, I think you have to. It's one of those things where if you watch what she's been doing since, like I mean, but a lot of people probably haven't, and a lot of people probably haven't had to, have seen her on this stage on AEW in what? It's been a year, right? So I mean, it's been forever, and so sometimes you kind of forget. Again, if you're someone who doesn't watch some of the other stuff that she's done, I'm sure it would be easy sort of forget how good she is. But not only that, like you throw her in there with Serena Deeb, and I think it's the same exact situation. Like I think people forget how good she is too, and it's oh, they were so good together, and I would love to see them work together a lot more in the future. I'm sure they will, but like it really was like it was one of the best, again, like you said, if not the best AEW women's match we've seen, and it's just man, that was just fantastic, and I'm very curious about this tournament too. Like I think there's a lot of ways they could go with this, but I think after a performance like that. Man, like Rio versus Thunder Rosa, like that's gonna be great. That's another one where it's like you go from Serena Deeb to Thunder Rosa, like it could be the exact same thing. Like we could be saying the exact same thing after their match. So I'm very fascinated to kind of see what they do with Riho here because she's so different, and it seems like we say that about there, like Layla Hirsch and Thunder Rosa and all the like. There was a time there, and you and I talked about it, Andy, like the women's division we said like they just need something like they need more unique characters like personalities like wrestling styles and they have really made a focused effort I think over on doing that over the past 3 or 4 months now and and obviously the pandemic and everything has played into the whole Riho situation but I just love that she's back and again I think it adds just another element to this division and it's clearly a division that's heading in the right direction when I think a lot of people weren't sure that it was going to be heading in the right direction maybe as little as 3 or so months ago.
And that's the thing. I feel like the AEW has really, I guess, cobbled together kind of like a Cold Stone Creamery worth of different styles here. We have little
Yeah.
chocolate chunks of the Japanese style being thrown in there. We have styles from all around the world with, of course, Thunder Rosa injecting her area of expertise in there as well. We have up and comers like Anna Jay, Ty Conti, and then both of these women's tournament matches that have been televised so far. Layla Hirsch and Serena Deeb last week, and now Rio or Layla Hirsch and Thunder Rosa last week rather,
Yeah.
and then Serena Deeb and Rio following it up this week. Just really showing what the women's division can do as a whole. And after nearly a year, Rio is back, arguably the favorite of the tournament, and showing exactly why in this match. Rio, like you said, advances to take on Thunder Rosa, sure to be another banger. But like I said previously, there's been a bit of a controversy surrounding this the presentation of this tournament. Some people disagreeing over putting the Japanese wing of the matches exclusively on their YouTube channel. It looks like that they're going to continue that with part of the American wing. A couple matches popping up on their YouTube channel this upcoming week. What is your take on that? We've seen some controversial takes on it over the past week. What are your thoughts on the way AEW is presenting this tournament?
I mean, I think probably to me, I can understand why people would want it to be one way, but I always still think about it. I'm like, I mean, I feel like they're probably doing what they can, like
Mm-hmm.
given the limitations and everything they can do. Like in a perfect world, wouldn't you want to just, find a way to bring everybody here and just do it all, find a way, even if you just do it like I don't know, like a Mae Young Classic type where you just, you find a way to do it in that similar type of presentation format, that kind of stuff. I mean, I think there are things that are probably outside of their control that they can't control, and that just kind of makes things more challenging in trying to pull off a tournament like this because you are doing it, on two different continents, so you're trying to find a way to pull it off. So I don't know. I mean, I love tournaments, Andy. I told you this, we've talked about this before. It doesn't matter. You could put any tournament there is. I love it. And I love that there's a women's tournament because to me, like at least they're putting a focus on this and at least you get to see matches like we saw with Serena Deeb and Riho. And then you get to see, some of the Japanese women's matches. And, it's just, I don't know. I get why I guess some people would want it to have the same type of platform and all that. Like this would be in the perfect world again. You would love if you're AEW to go ahead and have that extra hour of TV or even do it on dark or something. Like I don't know. Like there's a lot of ways I guess you could do it, but at the end of the day, I think it's still good for the women's division. So I'll take it no matter what the presentation is because I think it'll only help the women's division. Just again based on the matches we've seen thus far, right? If you're the ones you've actually seen on AEW Dynamite, even if you haven't watched any other matches, I feel like it's kind of raised the profile of where the division's at right now. So
Most definitely, and of course their YouTube channel is obviously an international
right,
platform,
yes,
so it's not like that they're going to have any issues reaching an audience there.
yeah.
If anybody wants to watch it, they're right there to be watched. And now on the complete opposite side of the women's division, we have Rio over here, and then way across the playing field is Jade Cargill and her situation with Shaq. We saw them training hard for the for the matchup upcoming in March, and I guess Shaq already has all of his wrestling training out of the way because he spent most of this promo on the bench just intently staring at Jade as she works on her free throw game. But how that's going to help her out in the ring with Red Velvet and how this situation plays towards Shaq facing off against Cody, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. Could you maybe try to clarify that for me? Because I'm honestly still a bit confused.
Well, I'm gonna say this, Andy, and I told you this before we came on here. We were watching the show, and I thought the line of the night on the Shaq Jade Cargill storyline came from our friend Andrew Thompson at Post Wrestling, who you and I have both we've had on the podcast. You've had him on some videos. The line of the night from this man, he said, I wonder how many takes it took for them to do that because Shaq's free throw shooting, which is obviously if you're a basketball, if you think about Shaq, and that's always the thing everybody talks about is just how terrible of a free throw shooter Shaq was when he played in the NBA. So Andrew just he hit it out of the park on that one because I thought that was hilarious, and I too am wondering. I guess it's just I don't know. Like, are you trying to just draw in the NBA audience again, like we've talked about, where all of a sudden the NBA audience watches and said, "Oh, this Jade Cargill woman, like she can play basketball too." So that really is going to invest us even more in this wrestling match that she's about to have. I don't know if that's the reason, but I guess I don't know either. Like it was different. I'll say that. Like it was a different type of I guess way to promote this match, but. I mean, it's Shaq. I guess if you're going to do something with him, basketball would make sense. But like you said, I don't know how that translates to a wrestling match. But maybe it was just to see Jade and once again an outstanding shape and just to see her make shots and maybe do it even as a more of a smooth shot than Shaq has. So we've got to give her credit there. So.
I'd say that different is an apt description of what we saw. Speaking of different, we had a lot of different tonight. We had a lot of different in the way that Sting is interacting with other AEW talent as well. Probably the most shocking moment of the night for me. It's definitely no Kenta popping up, but still Sting took a massive power bomb from Brian Cage, and he kind of Taz and Team Taz kind of fucked up the whole thumbnail situation that we're working with here and the whole title situation because the title of this video, as we're recording it here live, is Sting calls out Team Taz. We didn't really get that. We had Team Taz out there calling out Sting, and when Sting came out, he was in the ring 1 versus 3 because of an attempted murder that we saw last week with Taz putting Darby Allin in a body bag and dragging him behind behind a vehicle. But nonetheless, calling out Sting makes Sting throw away the baseball bat, and Sting goes all out. He put up a valiant effort against Brian Cage, and Hook and Taz, but to no avail, and he fell hard, bringing up a lot of questions in people's mind. We were pretty confident weeks leading into this Revolution match that, oh yeah, this has to be a cinematic match. Sting can't take a bump. Sting's not going to get physical. Sting's 60 plus years old. And now we have Sting out here going balls to the wall saying, oh, hit me harder, Brian. Hit me harder. I don't know what to think. Are we getting a real God's honest truth physical match here at Revolution coming up in this street fight? Who knows at this point? What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it was quite a bump, wasn't it? I think everyone was sort of like holding their breath when they saw him go up because, I think as Cage picked him up, I'm thinking, okay, like, are the lights going to go out and like Darby comes out or something? And that's kind of what my thought was. He's not going to power bomb him. Like, they're going to stop right here and, lights go out and all of a sudden Sting's back down on the mat and, Darby comes out or something like that. But to actually see him like deliver a Brian, like this was not a 50% Brian Cage powerbomb. Like it was a Brian Cage powerbomb, man. He threw Sting down, and I think, as we said, coming in, you think about Sting's the way his in-ring career ended in WWE and the buckle bomb and all that other stuff with Rollins, and it's like, I don't know, like I feel like we weren't the only ones probably that watched this and said, "Ooh, like that was kind of rough to see at times." So I feel like it's still going to be cinematic. Maybe I'm wrong about that because I don't know. Like that's a tough call though, I guess, because when you see Sting actually take the bump like this, it's like, man, I don't know. Like, are they actually going to put him in there and try to do this? Because I guess as we said, if they do cinematic, we understand why they would do it. If they don't, because of the stipulation, like they can work around probably some things. But I don't know. Like that was different though. I was not expecting that. Like you said, it's because I think we got what we've talked about so much. Is like Sting comes out week after week now, and people have kind of criticized that, saying he doesn't really do anything. He just kind of talks, and what is he kind of there to do, and all this. But I feel like that probably got their attention. So maybe that was the point.
Most definitely, and even more telling perhaps is it has to be deliberate. Okay, he took a power bomb, like you said. The last major move we saw him take in the ring was that buckle bomb from Seth Rollins before he collapsed and started dealing with these issues, these neck issues, these whiplash issues, things of that nature. And here we see him taking another power bomb again, possibly saying, "Oh, looky here, I can still do this. I can still take it." But yeah, quite a surprise. It remains to be seen how much punishment Sting can truly take in that ring. But I'm willing to I'm willing to wager that that's not the last Sting bump that we will have seen. Moving forward, we have FTR versus Matt and Mike Sydal. We were talking about Matt Sydal's appearance on the AEW Unrestricted podcast.
Yep.
Talking about that one of his main goals in wrestling for the year is teaming up with his brother here in AEW. It looks like they accomplished that. And yeah, this was a fine match. It followed up the Santana and Ortiz and Young Bucks match. Back-to-back tag matches. Maybe didn't play as well as they would have hoped, or I would have hoped, but still an enjoyable match. And even more noteworthy, afterwards we had the return of Luchasaurus coming in there to avenge the mask that was mutilated by FTR.
Yep.
And it looks like we're going to continue on with this storyline into Revolution. Do you have any new takes on this storyline? Because this is something that we've commented on for a few times now. This has been going on for a couple of months now.
Yeah, I think it's it's another one where they've played it out the way that they've had, and that's fine, just in terms of where it was. And I guess just right now they're showing the aggressive side of Jurassic Express to this point, and I mean, which is good, because I think one of the criticisms we have sometimes, like with wrestling, I think is like, and there are matches we could bring up. I always go back to the Triple H Randy Orton WrestleMania match where, like, you remember, I don't remember what Mania that was, but it was like they had that just pure like blood feud heading into it, and all the stuff with Stephanie, and it was like you literally wanted to see these two guys just rip each other apart when they got in that main event. And then what did we get? We saw like
Collar and elbow tie up.
yeah, like a technical wrestling match, right? And so if you're someone who looks at Jurassic Express, you're like, they just like Luchasaurus. This guy is a dinosaur, and they just tried to take his mask, and like he better be pissed off when he comes back. Like you don't want him just to walk back into the ring and have a match, and all of a sudden he gets in there and here he goes. Like he locks up with Cash Wheeler, and they just do a bunch of suplexes and stuff. That's not what you want to see. Like you want to see these guys come back with a vengeance. And so I thought they did a good job with that here, because if they would have just walked back in the ring, you just have Jurassic Express, cool as can be. They have no worries. They're just, trotting back into the ring, and that's it. Like that would not have the same effect. So I thought it was good to kind of do what they did, have the lights go out, put the mask up there, all this other stuff, and then just have them come in and just kick them. Like that was great. So it's, again, I think just the way you pull these things off sometimes means more than anything, because it doesn't have to be the greatest story or storyline or whatever. It just has to make sense from point A to point B to point C and so on. And so I think at least at this point, this storyline has made sense in terms of how they've gone about it.
Yeah, and if anybody is wondering how wonderfully silly wrestling is, Blake here sincerely just said, oh yeah, well, Luchasaurus, he's a dinosaur, and they took his mask. You want him to be angry. And
yes. I mean, you do.
Exactly. Oh man, what a silly world we live in. And then the main event of this evening is of course we have Eddie Kingston teaming up with Butcher and the Blade to face off against Rey Fenix, Jon Moxley, and Lance Archer. And if we were sitting here together 2.5, 3 years ago, and I just listed off that list of names as a main event of a wrestling show 3 years ago, you would get some mind-boggling reactions. But this is AEW in 2021, and we had it. And as most people would expect, it was incredibly enjoyable. The last 5 minutes of this match, these 6-man matches, you could say the same thing about last week and everything going on then as well. But yeah, just balls to the wall action. And then of course we had Kenny Omega coming out after the match, after Jon Moxley valiantly picks up the victory. Kenny Omega comes out and he drops this bombshell that we opened the show with. It looks like we have a lot to look forward to. And Kenny Omega, when he wants to go psycho, he'll go psycho, because the look in his eyes as he had that perfect dot of blood dripping down from his forehead, quite a visual to end the night as a cliffhanger. What are your thoughts as we move into Revolution, and we have so much to look forward to? We have Inner Circle versus the tag team champions, the Young Bucks. We have Kenny Omega versus Moxley in what is going to be an exploding barbed wire death match. Next week we're going to find out it's taking place on the moon. I mean, they're just throwing everything at the wall. It seems. But yeah, we have a lot to look forward to for Revolution. What are your thoughts on this main event and the bombshell announcement that followed?
Well, I want to get one thing out of the way first, because you and I have been on this train for a while now. Lance Archer is the man. Like, this guy is so underrated. Like, I don't even know. Like, I think for most people who saw like the New Japan run and all that, he's probably not underrated. Like, you and I, we watched him a lot there and just kind of seeing what he did. And the more I see this guy, I'm like, my goodness, he is so talented, and he just plays his role so great. And that's like we were talking while we were watching the show. It's like him and Moxley actually make sense as a tag team because they're two just complete lunatics, and it's just it's and then you've got Ray Phoenix in there, right? It's like it's just all of a sudden like Phoenix is just kind of the odd man out, but it's just I don't know, like I love those oddball type tag teams though, so I just want to say that like Archer's he's fantastic, and I know they're putting him in this spot for a reason, and I'm sure he'll continue to have a big role in this company for the next however many years. But as for this whole, deal going into Revolution with this exploding barbed wire death match, I mean, Onita would be. I mean, this guy that's kind of just thinking about all the history of the death match, and you can go back to Foley and Funk and all these other guys. Like it's just, I have no idea what to expect here. But Andy, I'll tell you this: they're gonna get some pay-per-view buys because this thing is going to just completely, I think, take the wrestling world by storm because I just look at this and think this is going to be so different than anything we've seen on this type of programming probably in a long time, if ever, right? I mean,
Mhm.
that's kind of what it's going to be. So, I don't know. Like I am so into this. Like I hate it for Renee Young, but I'm so into it, and I really do. Like I hate it for her. By the way, her follow-up tweet here, AEW put out a tweet that was like they tagged her and said, Renee Paquette be like, and then they have the Michael Scott, gif where he's just sitting there, just kind of staring, and she responded, "Why are you putting me through this? If my water breaks, that's on you guys." So, oh, poor Renee. Like, I don't know. I just don't even know. But I feel bad for her. But this is going to be a spectacle. And we talk about blood feuds, Andy. I'd say when you have an exploding barbed wire death match, that qualifies as a blood feud, probably between Omega and Moxley, I would think.
I definitely could not disagree, and in terms of feuds, I'd say that this feud is about as far from a dud as anything could
Yes.
be, but we have some duds that we have to confront. What would you say was your least favorite moment of the show? What would you say is your Dynamite dud of the week? You guys watching at home, if you have a particular nitpick with tonight's show, make sure you drop that dud in the chat. But Blake, what would you say your dud of the week is?
Man, I want to go with the Shaq Jade Cargill thing just because I don't think it makes any sense.
It's
But
too easy, too
I'm also,
easy.
I know, I don't think, I don't know where maybe it's going somewhere. But to be honest with you, I'm probably going to go with the whole earnings match that we're going to have at Revolution with Hangman and Matt Hardy. I love both of them, but I don't know. Like it's just I'm like you. I'm with you. Like I haven't been completely sold on this, but I don't think that's maybe either one's fault. I just think it's I don't know. It just feels like knowing where Hangman was, I guess, at the height of everything a couple months ago, and then kind of I mean, I know you can't be at the top and doing everything, given everything that Omega's doing, but I may go with that just because I mean, it'll be great. I'm sure they'll find a way to make it interesting, but an earnings match just this is different. So,
Well, then I guess I'll have to be the martyr, and I'll have to stick my neck out and say that my dud of the week was the Jade and Shaq situation.
yeah.
I was expecting to go into this training video when it was briefly hyped by Shivani earlier in the night, and I was expecting to see Shaq put on a technical masterpiece in terms of his schooling. I was expecting some arm drags. I was expecting to see maybe some 7 foot leapfrogs, but we didn't get any of that. Instead, we just saw probably the 34th take of a free throw from Shaq. Uh, but where there's bad, there is always good. Who would you say your wrestler of the week is for this week? It's February 17th, 2021. Who took the week, Blake?
Man, I'm gonna go Rio. Like I think she's the pick for me. I think that it was just I really enjoyed it, and I think that match was so good that because she won the match, I'd like to give it to both of them. But since she won the match, I've got to give it to her.
And we have Kevin Talbot dropping some helpful info in the chat saying there was apparently a really great segment with Dark Order on the Dynamite pre show that ties into the Hangman story. So maybe to flesh out the story a bit,
Yeah.
maybe that would make you eat your words in terms of giving that the dud of the week. So Blake, make sure you go and watch that. And if that changes your thoughts on things, make sure you send out a tweet or something of that nature. But yeah, wrestler of the week, Rio. I can't say you disagree about. I can't say I disagree with that, but I also I guess I'll throw Sammy Guevara's name out there for standing up for yourself, Sammy. You as an artist have creative agency, and you can say no to ideas that you don't like. Don't let people bully you into thinking otherwise. But yeah, other than that, we have one last award to give out. We have, of course, the Dynamite Diamond of the Week. We had a lot of great in tonight's show. We had a great women's match. We had a bombshell announcement from Kenny Omega. We had the tag titles on the line. All of them up against each other. Who comes out on top? What was the best moment of tonight's Dynamite?
I guess because I just picked Rio as the, as in for that other category, I'm just gonna say I'm gonna go with the whole, the setup for the exploding barbed wire death match. Just because I love saying that, so I'm just gonna just keep saying that over and over again, and I'm gonna go with that. Like I feel like that's the one thing you take away the most, because I can't give it to the Brian Cage powerbomb of Sting because that just scared me. So I can't give it to that. So I'm gonna go with the setup for the exploding barbed wire death match. Yes, Andy, that is the exploding barbed wire death match. In case, just want to make sure you got that. So
Yep. That's reading loud and clear on my end, and I'm coming at your heels saying. The diamond of the week for me was, of course, that Rio Serena Deeb match. So make sure you go check that out. Make sure you go check out the bombshell announcement at the end of the show, Blake's favorite moment of the night. And after that, there's a lot more for you to check out right here at the 411 Mania YouTube channel. Lots of great podcasts, lots of great content coming out. So make sure you're always checking back to see what's new. We're taking the week off next week. We'll be back the following week to break down everything AEW Dynamite. I'm Andy Perez. That's Blake Lovell. Blake, anything to plug before we gotta go?
nope, Andy, I'm looking forward to the free throw shooting contest in a couple weeks on AEW Dynamite. Shaq and Jade Cargill versus Cody and Red Velvet should be a lot of fun.
You heard it right here, and we're taking bets. I have $20 on Shaq and Jade. We'll see you in a few weeks, guys.